Good evening, guys. Bedtime already? I want to read you a story that I loved when I was teaching in the classroom. The background on that is that while I was teaching, when I first started teaching third grade, I had my very last baby, and it was really hard to leave her to go to school. I loved to be at school and I loved to be with the baby, and it was really hard to need to leave her with a babysitter. So you'll find out in this story why I really liked this. This is a true story written about a family member of this author, Gloria Houston. Let's find out about her. She's writing about her great aunt. My great aunt Arizona was born in a log cabin her papa built in the meadow on Henson Creek in the Blue Ridge Mountains. When she was born, the mailman rode across the bridge on his big bay horse with a letter. Can you imagine the mail being delivered by horse, on horseback? The letter was from her brother, Galen, who was in the cavalry far away in the west. The letter said, "If the baby is a girl, please name her Arizona, and she will be beautiful like this land." Arizona was a very tall little girl. She wore her long brown hair in braids. She wore long, full dresses and a pretty white apron. She wore high-button shoes and many petticoats, too. Arizona liked to grow flowers. You see the sunflower she's growing? She liked to read and sing and square dance to the music of the fiddler on Saturday night. Arizona had a little brother, Jim. They played together on the farm. In summer, they went barefoot and caught tadpoles in the creek. In the fall, they climbed the mountains, searching for galaxies and ginseng roots. In the winter, they made snow cream with sugar, snow, and sweet cream from Mama's cows. When spring came, they helped Papa tap the maple trees and catch the sap in buckets. Then they made maple syrup and maple sugar candy. Arizona and her brother Jim walked up the road that wound by the creek to the one-room school. All the students in all the grades were there together in one room. All the students read their lessons aloud at the same time. They made a great deal of noise, so the room was called a blab school. The students carried their lunches in lard buckets made of tin. They brought ham and biscuits. Sometimes they had fried apple pie. They drank cool water from the spring at the bottom of the hill. At recess, they played games like tag and William Matromato. I don't know that game, but it sounds fun. When Arizona had read all the books in the one-room school, she crossed the mountains to the school in another village, a village called Wing. It was so far away that she rode her papa's mule. Sometimes she rode the mule through the snow, so it's not close enough to walk. When Arizona's mother died, Arizona had to leave school and stay home to care for Papa and her brother Jim. But she still loved to read and dream about the faraway places she would visit one day. So she read and she dreamed and she took care of Papa and Jim. Then one day, Papa brought home a new wife. Arizona could go away to school where she could learn to be a teacher. Aunt Susie invited Arizona to live at her house and help with the chores. Aunt Susie made her work very hard, but at night, Arizona could study and dream of all the faraway places she would visit one day. Finally, Arizona, there's the school bell. Well, you're not here, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to go home. You're already home. Finally, Arizona returned to her home on Henson Creek. She was a teacher at last. She taught in the one-room school where she and Jim had sat. She made new chalkboards out of lumber from Papa's sawmill and covered them with polish made for shoes. She still wore long, full dresses and a pretty white apron. She wore high-buttoned shoes and many petticoats, too. She grew flowers in every window. She taught students about words and numbers and the faraway places they would visit someday. "Have you been there?" the students asked. "Only in my mind," she answered, "but someday you will go." There's all those very interested students, her telling them about the world. Arizona married a carpenter who helped build the new Riverside School down where Hinson Creek joins the river. So Miss Arizona became Mrs. Hughes. And for the rest of her days, she taught fourth grade students who called her Ms. Shoes. Her name is Mrs. Hughes. And when her daughter was born, Ms. Shoes brought the baby to school in the sunny room where flowers grew in every window. There she is, rocking the baby with her foot. Do you see why I thought this was a fun book? Would have been fun to bring my baby to school. We don't do that too much anymore, do we? So now she's able to take care of her baby and teach school. Every year, Arizona had a Christmas tree growing in a pot. The girls and boys made paper decorations to brighten up the tree. Then they planted their tree at the edge of the schoolyard year after year until the entire playground was lined with living Christmas trees, like soldiers guarding the room where Arizona taught. With her long gray braids wound round her head, with her long full dress and pretty white apron, with her high-buttoned shoes and many petticoats, too. The boys and girls who were students in her class had boys and girls who were students in her class, and they had boys and girls who were students in her class. For 57 years, my great-aunt Arizona hugged her students when their work was good, and she hugged them when it was not. She taught them words and numbers about faraway places that they would visit someday. "Have you been there?" the students asked. "Only in my mind," she answered, "but someday you will go." My great-aunt Arizona taught my dad, Jim's only son, and she taught my brother and me in the fourth grade. With her soft white braids wound round her head, she taught us about the faraway places we would someday visit. My great-aunt Arizona died on her 93rd birthday, but she goes with me in my mind. A very tall lady in a very full dress and a pretty white apron and her high-buttoned shoes and her many petticoats too. She's always there in a sunny room with many flowers in every window and a hug for me every day. She never did go to the faraway places she taught us about, but my great-aunt Arizona travels with me and with those of us whose lives she touched. She goes with us in our minds. This book is about a very special teacher, and I bet your teachers feel the same way about you as Great-Aunt Arizona. Have a good night.